Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Landon back for another video. It's been a while, and I know this video to many of you guys is probably totally out of left field, which it is for me as well. But I wanted to talk about the new game, Call of Duty World War II. It's coming out shortly. The beta is going to be starting, and I think at least from the day of that I'm recording this, I think is 11 days from now, the first beta. Which should obviously be an awesome time. But I ended up attending CWL Champs as a spectator and stuff like that, which was an awesome time. One of the best events, if not the best event that I've ever been to. However, you were actually able to play Call of Duty World War II live there. Essentially, you get to play it. They had 3 different stations kind of set up. It was, I think, 6v6 overall, and it was an awesome time. It was a great time. I'm still kind of keeping in mind the honeymoon period and the fact that I got to play the game before a lot of people, so I have that kind of all in my mind, and I was thinking, you know what, there's like so much information that I personally learned from my experience in playing that I wanted to tell people about. Like, I wanted to talk to you guys and explain things that I've learned that, you know, when it comes down to the World War II beta, that you're going to, like, kind of come into it and know what to expect. It's kind of like my goal for this video, for people to kind of understand that. So I kind of tweeted out, and I was like, you know, should I make a video? And people were saying, yeah. And I obviously opened up to questions as well. And if you guys have any questions that weren't answered in this video or things that you're still curious about, feel free to comment down, obviously in the comments below, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. So I'm going to try to explain exactly what happened, a lot of things that I personally noticed, and essentially once this video is concluded, you'll understand exactly what happened and a lot of what to expect once the beta does drop. So basically, how it was kind of set up, CWL Champs ended up taking place over 5 days, Wednesday to Sunday. This opportunity to be able to play the game early extended from Friday to Saturday. And you were only able to play it on those 2 days. You couldn't play it any other time. And on the first day, you were able to play TDM on a map called Point, I think it's Duhawk or Tuhawk, something like that. I don't even know, to be honest. And the second day, you got to play Domination on Ardennes Forest, or Ardennes, something along those lines. I was looking up on wiki pages, and they were calling it Ardennes. I could have swore it was Ardennes Forest in the game. It doesn't really matter. Either way, it was a big snowy map. And the first one was obviously Point Duhawk, which we got to play quite a bit. To let you guys know, I've probably played in total, including the TDM and Domination, I've probably played about 20 matches in total, which I think is the highest that anyone else played. I got in line constantly. It wasn't a super long wait. Probably like the longest time I had to wait to get into a game through the line and whatnot was probably about 25 minutes. But I was able to like hop back in line, not have any problems. I play with quite a few pros, play with Mochella, play with Proto, play with some of the Rogue players as well. Got to play against some of the ANZ players like Buzzo from Mind Freak, Excite from Tainted Minds. Got to play with a lot of guys. So I have a pretty wide understanding of how the game works in some cases, and I feel like I have a lot of experience compared to a lot of people who might have played a few matches or something like that. So first of all, I know everyone's curious is their thoughts are on the maps. I'll obviously get to that here in a second, but I want to talk about the weapons. The weapons to me are very important when it comes down to this game. There's a big difference, at least in when I got to play, between the assault rifles and the SMGs. Essentially, the difference between the two is that they don't work the exact same way. Essentially, what I mean by that is the speed, not just from the overall sprint time, but also from how your character moves and also how the ADS time is as well, is much different from weapon to weapon. Essentially, the ARs, you're going to be running a lot slower than the guys with SMGs, which I personally like. I think that's a really good idea. So, at least from my experience, I was rocking with the bar and the M1 Garand throughout probably most of day one. I would say 7 out of my 10 matches from day one, I was playing with an assault rifle, which I hate the fact that I was doing that when I didn't realize the SMGs were actually a lot better. At the time, I didn't really realize like the pure differential between the two. But whenever you are running around with an SMG, you're much quicker. Your ADS time is a lot faster. We didn't get a chance to really look at like the attachments on different things. The classes were already made. You couldn't really touch anything. So at least from what we got to experience, those classes were kind of set in stone. But out of the box, SMGs are much faster at movement. They're much faster at ADSing than the assault rifles are. And you know, while the assault rifles are obviously, at least there's only 2 in the game actually. There was the bar and the M1 Garand. You know, while they were more powerful in some ways, the maps kind of played favor to the SMGs in the 2 maps that we got to play. As far as the best SMG right now, and of course, like, things are subject to change. The beta could be on a totally different, updated server. You know, things have totally changed by now. Best SMG in the game, without question, and I don't care what anyone else says, is the MP40. MP40 is the best gun, in my opinion, in the entire game as it was at the event. MP40 is pretty quick to kill. Of course, this was a very popular weapon at World at War and stuff like that. The next best SMG which we got to play with was the M1928, which is basically the Thompson. It's a good weapon. It ADS is pretty quick, and you can obviously move just as fast with the MP40 as well. Only thing is that it's pretty hard to manage. The overall recoil is pretty difficult to kind of hold. Essentially, if someone's holding like a head glitch or something like that with a bar and you're shooting them with the Thompson, 9 times out of 10, they're going to win that with the bar. It's just kind of how it works. You got to kind of catch people off guard and stuff like that. So kind of works to me like an early Scorpion from Black Ops 2. It's really powerful, but I might even say the Vesper from Black Ops 3 I think is probably a better comparison. Like it's very powerful, not to the same extent that the Vesper was, but it's kind of like that high risk, high reward. Like if you can control your shots, it's a great weapon, but if not, you can obviously struggle. Best AR is by far the bar, at least from what we got to play with. The M1 Garand is a great gun. Recoil is pretty difficult to manage, and you can't shoot it as fast as you want to. At least you couldn't in the game that I got to play. But the M1 Garand is pretty good. I played quite a few matches with that, and honestly, I was having a pretty hard time with it. I think it was because of the fact that you have guys with SMGs kind of roaming around and stuff like that. It was around a 2 to 3 shot kill, so if you do hit your bullets correctly, people are going to get pretty much melted. It's not too bad when it comes down to like blind firing or hip firing with it. It's not bad either. But overall, the bar is just more of a all-around better weapon, at least from when I got to witness. And I also got to watch, there was actually a little bit of a show match that kind of went on over time. People were actually playing like 8s and stuff. It was pretty crazy how the World War II was set up. Like teams of 6 were playing against other teams of 6. Like people were kind of hopping in line and even like betting money and betting like World War II hats and shirts and stuff like that, which is kind of funny to me. However, I did get to witness a few North American players play against some ANZ players and like a little bit of a show match type thing. Like even the staff let them kind of play it out and even play the Adrenaline Forest before it was actually released to the public on day 2. And everyone was using the bar. Like the pros were totally lenient toward the bar as far as the assault rifles. I don't think that any of them really tried out the SMGs as of yet. So like I said, my opinion on the MP40 being the best gun in the game could definitely not be true to everyone's point of view if the game stays the same. But a lot of pros were definitely favoring toward the bar. I ended up getting this question. I will kind of put it up now. How does sniping work in this game? Is it good? Can you quickscope? From when I got to witness, there was a few snipers that you could use. One of those was the M1903, and the other one was the Kar98K. Kar98, you didn't have any opportunity to like put like an actual scope on it or anything like that. There was no attachments you can put on anything at all. It was just kind of like the baseline default class gun, and it wasn't bad. It was pretty difficult to aim with, to say the least. But the go-to sniper rifle, at least in the game that I was able to play, was the M1903 for sure. And so how sniping works, and I'm going to try to put up some footage in the background. Essentially how sniping works in this game is that, say you're getting ready to scope in, right? So your crosshair is getting ready to pop up basically around the scope. So everything that's kind of like in the background and the foreground is basically blurry, and then it fades into black. From when I got to play, whenever it is like probably 3/4 of the way from fading to black, like so from blurriness to blackness, if that makes any sense, once that's reached like 3/4 of the way through, which is probably a good like 3/4 of a second to maybe even a full second, you can't snipe during that time. So it makes it a little bit difficult. So like dark scopes, at least in the game that I was able to play, do not exist anymore. You cannot really dark scope the exact same way. It's almost like whenever you submit to aiming in fully, it's going to make you wait just a little bit before you can shoot. Like I said, that could totally change. That was just with the M1903. Definitely the best sniper to use, at least in the game that I was able to play. But there is a little bit of an issue with sniping for sure when it comes down to that. I personally like that a lot, and it definitely to me makes sniping a little bit more interesting. You can't have people running around, you know, randomly quick scoping you or something like that. It actually takes skill to kind of get that timing down. And there was a few places on the Adrenaline map that I was actually able to use when it came down to sniping strategies and stuff like that. On one side of the map, there is, I forget what it was called. People were actually using callouts and stuff. There was one side of the map that was called like Shed, and the other one was like Bunker, and or Cabin actually. It was Cabin was on one side, and Bunker was on the other. And basically how this map works is that once you cap a flag and dom, you can immediately rush toward the right side of the map and immediately see players within about 4 or 5 seconds, which I kind of like personally. And I was able to pick people off like constantly, at least finding like 1 or 2 kills off the start. So if you ever are playing a Adrenaline Forest or something like that and you pull out the M19, definitely hop in one of those power positions. You can easily spot people. That map definitely played a lot different than Point to Hawk did. I'll obviously explain that a little bit here in just a second. Another note that I took down, pistols are OP. The game at least that I played, I know I keep saying that, the game that I played, pistols are absolutely absurd. They are so freaking good. The 1911 was by far my favorite pistol to use. At one point, I remember it on Saturday, I was playing on Adrenaline, and I was easily walking around and getting 3 or 4 bullet kills. There was actually one moment where I got a headshot with the pistol, and I also shot him in the body. I killed him in 2 bullets. Along with the pistol, there's no cap on how fast you can shoot the weapon. Like, I have a decent trigger finger, and I was using a default PS4 controller like everybody else was. I don't have the best trigger finger, and I was lighting people up. Like, the MR6 from Black Ops 2, or Black Ops 3, excuse me, great weapon. You can shoot that thing pretty fast. The 1911 puts that to shame. It is absolutely insane. That was the secondary to the sniper rifle, so the M19 along with the M1 Garand, those were secondaries to those particular weapons, and I'm curious to see how those work with the classes and stuff like that. Like, can you attach them to every gun? Because I'm absolutely going to do that if that's the case. Of course, those are going to get patched once the game comes out, but if you are getting ready to play the beta, be aware pistols are super good. At least, like I said, in the game that I got to play. I think I've said like 100 times, but it's fine. Also, the Luger was the secondary to the Bar in one of the classes, and that was a very good pistol as well. I mean, the pistols that I got to play with were very good. The 1911, though, was just so surprising to me, and every time that I would see someone and they would ask me, like, how's the game? I'd be like, it's a great game. Pistols are freaking amazing. So just be aware of that once the beta does come out. If the game is still the same, which I'm pretty sure it will be, pistols are absolutely insanely good. So I'm going to go and answer a few of your guys' questions that you ended up asking me. And like I said, if you guys do have any excess questions that weren't answered in this video, 100% feel free to put it down in the comments, and I'll definitely answer. I'm only going to answer a few just because of the sake of the video, and everyone knows that I love to ramble on. This one comes from Carson, aka FPS Infa. He said, is TTK a good speed? Time to kill was very fast, which is expected in every single beta and every single early point of the game. When it's released, obviously early to the public, the time to kill is always high. This game is no different. The time to kill is pretty quick. They'll most likely adjust that, but the time to kill is definitely quick. I mean, like I said, I was literally getting I was two-bullying people with a pistol at one point, so it's definitely going to be fast, but I don't think it was bad. It wasn't bad by any means, so I'm not too worried about that. This one comes from Alex, aka RelaxXJ9. He said, what attachments you could use, if any, guns that seem way better than others, have the maps float in the game? There wasn't really like an opportunity to put like an attachment on something that I was able to really like take notice of. I'm not gonna lie, I was just kind of focused on the maps, the weapons, and stuff like that. So I'm actually gonna answer his last question. How do the maps flow in the game? Essentially, I was not super impressed with the 2 maps that we got to play, which I said was Point to Hawk and Adrenaline Forest. Point to Hawk, basically how this map works is that there's 2 lanes on the outside that are pretty heavy as far as like when you're going to see players, and there's also a huge cluster in the middle with trenches. How those trenches work is that literally at any time, anybody can be coming from anywhere, which is kind of unfortunate. So when it comes down to that map, SMGs are definitely true. I'm curious to see how it works out, because if you do jump on top of those trenches, you're immediately dead. There are definitely some power positions over in Bunker where there's like a, you can obviously get on those mounted guns and stuff like that. There's actually a place on the other side where guys with M1 Garand were definitely setting up. I was doing that quite a bit throughout the first few matches that I was able to play, hopping in with an M1 Garand and stuff like that and kind of waylaying a little bit. But the map flowed pretty good. Like I said, they weren't my favorite. I definitely preferred Adrenaline Forest to Point to Hawk. But I think Point to Hawk is honestly kind of like Sledgehammer's version of Nuketown in some cases, at least by how it played. But yeah, the maps feel pretty good, I think it's fair to say. This one comes from Reverse PMV. He says, which guns do you think will be used the most in competitive from the ones that you have used so far? Just to make this really quickly, definitely the Bar is I think an AR that we're going to see a lot. There's a lot of weapons that I personally wasn't able to use because they weren't allowed to be used in the game itself. But from what I've seen, at least in my opinion, it's definitely going to be an MP40 AR, or excuse me, an MP40 along with the Bar battle. I think those we're going to see a lot of the time. This one comes from VZ. He says, can I YY? Yes, you can. You can YY. I was YYing a lot with the M1 Garand, and I was having a pretty good time with it. It wasn't like amazing, and I wasn't trying to do it on every single weapon, but I was doing it a lot on the M1 Garand, and I can assure you for sure you definitely can YY in the game. This one comes from X Voller, which I think is a very popular question, so I'm really glad he asked this one. He said, if you had to compare the pace of the game to any other COD, which one would you compare it to? Honestly, to me, it plays a lot like World at War. Like, to be totally honest with you, and as easy as it is to say that particular thing, World at War, it plays a lot like it. To kind of relate it, I know it's like a big question. Is it like MWR? Is it like Ghost? It's kind of like, it's just a boots on the ground game, really. I mean, it's just it's a slower paced, boots on the ground, you know, game. There's nothing crazy about it. It's not much different than a lot of other titles were, which I kind of like. I like that personally. But to compare it to maybe one over another, I mean, it's kind of like Ghost, but you don't really run as fast as players do in Ghost. To me, it kind of has the pacing of a map like Ghost, but the speed of a game like MWR, if that makes any sense. I kind of combine the two. But I was happy with the pace of the game for sure. And I want to bring this up too before I do close out the video. I don't think I have any more questions. Actually, I do have a few more that I'll see if I answer them or not. But whenever it comes down to the beta, be aware it's going to take you a few games to get used to that boots on the ground battle. It took me about 7 or 8 games of TDM to really realize that, hey, I should probably stop challenging everything while I'm one shot. Like, it was happening constantly to me. And I got back to that moment of, you know what, I'm just going to sit here for a few seconds. I'm going to start ADSing around every corner. Stuff like that's going to happen to you, so just be aware when it comes down to the beta. Play slow. There's nothing wrong with playing slow. I'm not going to lie. There's a few times where I was, like, getting very angry. I was like, wow, these guys are camping, man. And it was like, yes, like, thank God. Like that's my least of my worries, that people are going to be camping in this game. So, yeah, I was very happy with the game when it comes down to that. I definitely just totally went off on a different rant, but still, I just wanted to kind of bring that up to everyone. Just be aware that the pacing of the game is definitely going to throw you off a little bit at the beginning of the game. So yeah, guys, I apologize for this very long video. I just really wanted to talk about everything that I've learned from this game. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to put in the background of this video. Hopefully some World War II content or some video footage would probably be good. But I do appreciate the support on this video. If you guys did enjoy or learn something new, it really helped me out if you guys did leave a like. And also subscribe. I'm trying to make some more videos. I'm starting to try to get back in the swing of things. And honestly, being at Champs this weekend and playing, a great boots on the ground game just personally made me enjoy it a lot. It made me kind of get back in the spirit of wanting to make videos and having that passion again for Call of Duty esports, which is really good. I'll be honest, I really did enjoy World War II. I'm being very cautious of my opinion on it. I thought it was good. It wasn't amazing, but I did enjoy it. But I did get to play a very early aspect of the game. So I just want to kind of get that out there, let everyone know that is my opinion. I'm being very aware of the stage that sets in, the honeymoon period, being able to play the game before anybody else. That's just, how things go. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys all next time. Have a fantastic day, and hope to see you on the beta. Peace out.